Okay, Reishis Chochma, our 33rd session on Reishis Chochma, Gematria Gal, Vashab, so Gal Einai, Vabita Flos Mitar Secha. Right. Oy. And it should be Gali Kvod Machus Leinu. Okay, without further ado. All right, so we had learned at great length the Zohar, how the Zohar, Koshku says, V'nefesh kisechta. The Zohar says, he brought a few Zohars and they say that, how the Torah wonders, how could a nefesh, how could the neshama sin after it's been, so juiced up in preparation for its journey to Olam Hazeh, right? So, all right, before come with me, so because Matria Nevesh Kishla started son Yosef, Sham the Lamala Brata Echamach Yusuf, you see for these different Zors they brought how Koshu wonders, as it were, how the Nefesh could even, could not do God's will after it sat, it came from the palace of the king, saw the secrets of the king. And the expected etiquette. But like this, all similar to the Medrash Tanchuma that we brought down at the beginning of this parak. So ois test. Well, there's a bureau by Midrash who will be Yalkut. It's also say another Medrash over here is referring to a Sifrei and Azinu, which is also in the Yalkut Shimoni and Azinu. But Pasuk. On the pasuk, Yarov Kamatarka, it should be like do my words, referring to the Torah. Zeloshoinai. So what does the Medrash, what does the Sifrei say over there? Rabbi Simai Omer. Also, Rabbi Simai used to say, all creatures that were created from heaven, all the aspect of them come from heaven. Both their soul and their body are heavenly, right? Everything created from the earth. There's life force and their body from the earth, like animals. Like the animal life is not something spiritual, right? Animal life is a biochemical thing. So everything about the animals from the earth, just like everything about, an angel or everything about a celestial body will be heavenly. The only exception to this is man, that his soul is from heaven and his body is from earth. And therefore, Asadam Taira if the Adam keeps the Torah and he does the will of his Father in heaven, okay, so his heavenly side will be dominant, So we say, when the Adam lives a heavenly lifestyle, we say his heavenly side is dominant, and he is counted amongst the inhabitants, the inhabitants and the products of heaven. If he doesn't do Torah and doesn't do the Ratzon of his Father in heaven, he will now also means he's not living a heavenly lifestyle. So we say his body, which is his earthly side, is dominant. So he's like the creatures below, the earthly creatures. Maybe it's like an animal. As it says, like a man you will die. Like man you will die. It's referring to a man dying just like an animal dies. It's a lower aspect where the body is dominant. Death is in the body, not in the soul. Rabbi Lezer ben Rabbi Yosef son of Rabbi Yosef says, right, if the angel of death will come and challenge me and say, why was I created? Right? I don't think you deserve to live. I want to take your life now because, for what purpose we created? Ani omalo. Right, I will tell him, I'm sorry. I mislearned this. Like I say, I'm sorry. I always issuing this disclaimer that I'm learning this with you in real time. Right. 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 So that's what I was going to say. Even Malchamas, this, this Razab, you know, uh, you know, uh, explaining what Hashem means, right? That Hashem says, initially Hashem says, I said, you're like, very important people, and you're all sons, heavenly sons. And then Achin Karam Tamusan. So the first part of the pasuk, is referring to, like we said, that if Adam keeps the Torah and he does Ratz Hashem, he's like, B'nai Elyon. But if he doesn't keep the Torah, he doesn't do Ratzav Yisrael, he's Kabri Shashma, then he's Achin Karam Tamusan. So Rabbi basically adds, he's adding, when Hashem says that, Hashem means to say. Hashem means to say. Hashem means to say. Hashem is saying, if the angel of death will come to me and ask me, God, God, why did you create me? Right? Why was I created? Hashem says, I would tell the Malchamavis, I created you for the Goyim. For the Goyim. They can have you. You are for the Goyim. In Lo Yikabu Torasi, if they will not receive my Torah, as they indeed turned down Torah. Hashem offered it to them before you gave it to us. Lo Abari, but you were not created, for my children. Akan Lashono. Right? Uh-huh. And it's true that anyone who's a tzaddik, really the Malcham Mavis doesn't have control over him. It's not really, when his time comes, it's not really under the jurisdiction of Malcham. So Malcham may be employed, but he's, it's Hashem taking his soul, whereas the Rishonim are mamish handed over to the Malcham, right? And that's certainly the case by the Goy. All right, Yud. So even now that the fact that even there's a punishment for doing a very b'shogeg. Right, and you might ask why. It was because the neshama should know better. The neshama could have stopped the body from doing that sin inadvertently, is what we're learning, because the neshama was so warned. And it should be like second nature for the neshama just to do the right thing. And therefore, the neshama should have forced the body to stop and not do that sin inadvertently. So he wrote the neshama. And therefore, some onesh for shogeg is required also. So this was all clarified in the Gemara Masechet Nazir, Perek Misha Amar V'Shama, Daf Chav Gimel Rav. Zeh Lashono. This is what the Gemara says. It is a famous famous Gemara. It's quoted in a few places in Shas, at least in Kiddushin also, I know. Because if a woman did not know that her husband was made for her netter not to drink wine, and she drank wine, so Isha from her husband has absolved her, Hashem will forgive her. Why? If her husband did hafaras nedarim and he undid her netter, why does Hashem have to forgive her? Right, so that's the obvious question. Isha from Hashem yislach. So the Gemara says, because she took kapara sicha, right? So the Gemara says that that this part is referring to that the woman, she didn't know that her husband, undid her netter, and she didn't care. She drank thinking that she still, let's say the case in point is a netter not to drink wine, which would disrupt harmony. If like wine is a staple item in the house, I'm approximating a model. All right, so so it's dvarim shebeino leveina or mishum inui nefesh, whatever. So let's say it's a type of circumstance like where her not drinking wine would be within the purview of his right to be made for neder. All right, and he was made for neder, but she didn't know that. And she drank wine. So she still needs, she still needs kapara for intention to sin, even though she really didn't sin. So it's kind of a little bit the reverse, if with all due respect to the Reishis Chochma, this is a little bit the opposite of shogeg. Maybe in the grand scale of things, they are the same. But you see, shogeg generally is the sin is a sin. You didn't know it's a sin. But we were talking about the exact opposite. The sin wasn't really a sin because the Baal was made for that, but she thought she was doing a sin. It's really the opposite of shogeg. Shogeg is the action is evil, but the person didn't realize they're doing evil. Over here, it's the other way around. The action is not evil because there was a forest in the Dorim, but she thought she was doing evil. But maybe, the Reishis Chochma is saying a chiddush that they're congruent. Regular Mazid is both evil intent and evil action. He wants to kind of shogeg, evil action lacking in intent, and it's the same thing as if it will be reverse, right? Non-evil action, it's non-evil, it's not wrong because of the verb, but she thought she was doing a chet. Maybe in his mind they're equivalent. Meza is both evil intent and evil action. Shogeg, what qualifies ki'ilu shogeg is either evil action without evil intent, or he seems to be machadish that it's also called avera b'shogeg the other way around, right? That it was actually mutter, but she intended to do something aser. Right? They're both, I guess you could say that they're both non-mazid. One case, intent is lacking. The other case, the intent is there, but the the isser is lacking. But it's a little bit of a pell over here why he's assuming that they're perfectly equivalent for the reason that I'm asking. When Rabbi Akiva used to reach this pasuk, he used to cry. Someone who wanted to eat pork, but then he ate sheep, which is kosher. He still needs kapara. So a person who wants to eat pork and did indeed eat pork, much more so. Because if someone who just wanted to do the wrong thing and didn't need kapara, someone who wanted to do the wrong thing and did the wrong thing. Vod sham. Right? He didn't know and he did wrong, but that's why he will carry a sin. You should really be in play for that. Now this, Isi ben Yehuda, that sounds, I'm not looking in the Gemara inside, I'm only looking what he's calling, but it sounds, Hashem is referring to shogeg. He just didn't know, meaning he did wrong. He just didn't know he's doing this already. Is taka shogeg, in the conventional sense. The mice is wrong, but the person didn't know he was doing wrong. And Vinasavari still needs kapar, he's carrying his sin. Mashba, it's still wrong, even though he didn't know he was doing wrong. But those who are going, Akalashono. Okay, so like the Isi Ben Yehuda, that's mamish conventional shogeg. Okay. Yudaf. Od matzasi mamar tana lebel yo midaber Yira. So now going back to Yira per se. So you found a ton of the Bel Yo that talks about Yira. Reisi Atiko Hena. I want to now copy it down over here. Nidpas B'Yalkut Parshas Lech Lecha, and it was also in the Yalkut Shimoni in Parshas Lecha, but Pasuk. Regarding the pasuk Avram, Hein li lo nasata zera v'gomer, you didn't give me children, right? All right, this is after Avram Avinu came back from, waging war on Lot, not Lot, sorry, waging war on the 4 kings that captured Stone, and he liberated Lot. We that we should liberate our brothers and sisters held by Hamas. I guess he liberated that bum because from him ultimately came Mashiach ben David, right? Later, Lot went back to Stone, even after that whole story. And, the whole story, Ammon and Moab, from them come, David and Shlomo's wife, Naamah. Yeah. So anyway, after he came back from the successful campaign where he liberated Lot, so he's still called Avram at that time, and he's saying, "Hashem, you didn't give me any children." The Gomer, as the pasuk ends, Zelashonos over there regarding that pasuk, on that pasuk, the Yalkut Lech Lecha brings this. Person should always have his heart awake. They shouldn't come to any sin. Always be aware, always be on your A game. Always be totally awake, not woke. awake. That you should not come to sin, even the small sin. Take a look from our first fathers. The whole Ghost of Mitzrayim was triggered because our leader said, "Bama Eda Kirasheno." You know, he just didn't say it the right way. You know, how will I know? And that triggered the Gzera of Ghost of Mitzrayim. Ubeschar Yira Kim Asher Yishmael and just because Yishmael had a little bit of fear and respect for his father. So wow, this is Mamash no our day. Because did not give Rishus to any nation to have control over them. Man, no one could control the Arabs. Arabs do whatever they want. No one has any control over them. Iran, no one tells Iran what to do. No one tells the Arabs what to do. As we're learning about right now, that because Yishmael has that power, gave that power to his children in the schus, or actually Yishmael caused that koch to go to his children. And schus, they just had some respect from Avram Avinu. But also Har Seir, when Esav just cried 2 tears. Presumably this is when he lost the bracha. Right, I'm guessing. Right, right. So presumably that was when he felt bad that he lost the bracha. I guess there was a certain element of so it was some part of hhis spiritual side was speaking because he wanted the spiritual benefits of the bracha also, right? So he cried 2 tears. So that's what I said. For that, he got Har Seir. Now Har Seir seems to be excellent real estate in the sense that it always rains there. There's never a drought on Har Seir. And now also the fact that Esav ultimately he packed up and left Eretz Yisrael and went to Har Seir. He picked up his belongings and he went to Har Seir, to leave Eretz Yisrael to Yaakov. Nasdu lo for that, and because of that they gave him Medinas 100 nations. How many there in the UN? Yeah, Esav. Yaakov El Yosef Nanoslav Shtemesre Shana Bishul Meriva Nen Shumashar, and right, and because Yaakov, I guess, showed favoritism to Yosef, I guess what it means. He showed listened to Esav, or no, I see them first him say he listened to Yosef's lashon hara. Over because he complained about the brothers hating Avram and Achai, whatever Chazal say, because he listened to his lashon hara. So now he had to have the pain of being separated from Yosef 22 years. And because of Maso Mariva, when Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock, May Mariva, so Moshe and Aaron had to die in the desert and couldn't go into Eretz Yisrael. Right, so so these are relatively small things. 2 tears, listening to a little bit of lashon hara. Ian Force said, presumably there was a rationalization of Toelis on Yosef's part, so on Yaakov's part. His father has to know what's going on with his kids, but it's correct them, and Yishmael, whatever it was, the general measure, they didn't do too much good and they got so much reward. They didn't do too much bad and they still got so punished. So you got to be very careful to always do the right thing. Amru Chachamim. Right, so Chazal say is, the printer gives a notation that he doesn't know exactly what is Chazal that the Reishis Chochma is quoting is, but there is something like in a Moed Katan Chafei on the base, right? I can see already how it's it's very similar to a lot of Lashonos of Chazal that we have. If fire could catch on moist wood, like good green wood that's full of moisture, and still fire consume them. Kal dry wood, That's very similar to Lashon Chazal elsewhere. That Shavs Nofa Barazim, the great cedars, are on fire. What do we do? Us little spider webs, or whatever it is, a zuvekir, whatever you want to call us, a zuvekir, like little, it's like very thin, vegetation, right? Okay, same concept. That if fire could take down the big ones, we the little ones should be so much more afraid of that fire. Also, Omer Tefillah Moshe, Chazak Kodesh Baruch Hu, Ratzah Lo Anihu Sha'atem Bonai, Vani Avichem, Atem Achai, Vani Achichem, Atem Vani Achem, Vani Dorchem, Klum Chasarti Lachem. Right, right. So when Moshe Rabbeinu in the famous Kabbalah Tefillah Kim, you know, Moshe Rabbeinu praised Hashem. It seems that Moshe Rabbeinu also had his, his requests, his, for lack of a better word, his grievances he wants addressed. I don't have the capital in front of me. All right, but so Moshe Rabbeinu has his, he has his, things that he's davening for in that capital. And of course, Choser Ratzos Moshe is coming to, placate Moshe, calm him down, be mafayis him. Amalo, and right, so Hashem tells Lani, you, the Jewish people, you're my children, I'm your father. You want to say we're brothers? You're my brother, and I'm your brother. You're my friend, and I'm your friend. You're my beloved, I'm your beloved. Meaning, interesting point over here, that we have every different type of relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu imaginable. Not just Avinu, Malkeinu, it's everything. We have every type. We have a brother relationship, a beloved relationship, everything, We're friends, everything. We have every, good type of relationship. Any good type of relationship, we have those relationships with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's also a very big message, that all human relations, are a mashal for the different relations that we could have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so look, we have every single good relationship, and I did my part in that healthy relationship. Never come up short. All I'm asking about here, that just like I failed myself and I found 11 midos. Let's just see if the Mefarshim, it's a little bit difficult. I mean, I see in the Mefarshim in the bottom, they say, it alludes to the 11 meters like this. There's 13 meters harachamim. The first two are Hashem, which is that's a machlokas, by the way. It's according to our result, starts from Kel Rachum V'Chanan. All right, but right. Right, we say like this, I guess so. Akaru says above the first two, it fits better like the first two, which are Hashem, which refers to God Himself. Anihu korb shechta, anihu shalachar shechta. So the other, but again, the problem is that this doesn't work with the shita that the midas actually start from kel rachum l'chanam, and Hashem aren't part of it. But if Hashem are a part of it, we'll explain it that way. Let's come up with an alternate explanation. But explain this Chazal with the sheet that Hashem is 2 out of the 13. That means Hashem is Nakashalti says I imposed upon myself, right? 11 midos beyond my divine name that He had already. I'm also asking from you 11 midos. Velen, so from the pasuk of also in Tehillim, Holech Tal Paul Tzedek V'Gomer. But Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't placated, so Chazal came back to placate Moshe more and say, Amar Lo, Klum yesh fonai maso modern. Ben goy ben so ben so ben shivcha asa mitzvah schar betzina. It's not carrying hell. The Gomer was listen, meaning this wasn't good enough. Hashem comes and said, forget demands. I have no demands. You know, but you do anything right. A Jew, a guy, anyone who does anything right, don't I give schar mitzvah? Right? Like there's like aside from that, the Rebbe does have demands, but the bottom line is there's like no minimal demands that less than that you get nothing for anything done right. It's from this point and onwards, anything beneath this point of goodness is not good enough for schar. It doesn't work that way by God. Even the smallest thing done right gets schar. So of course, Rebbe has demands that he wants us to aspire to, but anything that we do right gets paid. So Mikan Amru called Marbe Quotray, my Quoratzo, Quotray Bisrabe, Quotum Bisrabe. My Quotray, Marbe Quoratzo, Quotray Bukoma, Omed, Quotum Mitmayet from here, they say. Right, so Hashem, he rewards anything done right. So anyone who increases the glory of heaven and decreases his own glory. So the glory of heaven is increased because of what you did. And your own glory is also increased because you're willing to sacrifice your glory for Hashem's glory. But if you lessen kvod shemayim, lessen the glory of heaven, and you increase your glory, of course, you cannot deplete God's glory. You can't take away from it, even if you're not doing your part to increase it. You can't decrease cosmically God's glory, but you could be sure that your glory will be mitigated because you cared about yourself. You didn't care about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It goes on. Presumably, this is all part of the same Chazal. There was a person standing in shul, and his son was standing opposite him. Right? Everyone answers after, we learned recently in Hilchos Chanukah of the Rambam, when they read Hallel, which is coming up, it's Rosh Chodesh tomorrow. You say Hallel, so the way they used to do it is that they answer Hallelujah after every pasuk that or after certain, many pasuk that the Shliach Tzibur says. So, so everyone's answering Hallelujah after the Chazan says Hallelujah, but the son is saying nonsense, not saying Hallelujah. He's saying gibberish. Amru lo. So they told the father, Reb bin Chashon Dram Shel Tiflos. Right? So people complain to the father, your son's talking nonsense. We're all davening seriously and answering Hallelujah after the Chazan says a pasuk that it has to be answered Hallelujah to, and your son is talking nonsense. The father tells him, so what should I do for him? Tinoku, he's a kid. Yitzchak, let him just play. He did the same thing the next day. So it's referring to the Halal Shalem of the 8 days of Sukkot, meaning the 8th day being Shmini Atzeret. So so it was indeed referring to Halal, like we correctly guessed. So all those 8 days, everyone's answering Hallelujah at the appropriate place when they used to say the way, in the minhag of how they used to say Halal. But this kid is right. This kid's answering, he's saying foolish stuff when everyone's answering Hallelujah, but then the father never, disciplined his son, right? He just brushed off and said, let the kid do what he wants. Those who so it wasn't 1 year, 2 years, or even 3 years, meaning within 1 year, one died. Within 2 years, someone else died. But after, it wasn't even 3 whole years until that guy died, his wife died, that kid died, and his grandchild died. That's what I'm saying. The first we talk about. So within those 3 years, he lost 15 people from his household. Right, and all there was just the one pair left. Right, Echad Chigar Vesuma. Right, there was one pair, and one was crippled, the other one was blind. Vechad Shoita V'Rasha, and one was a Shoita, and one was a Rasha. So it's not clear to me whether it's referring back to that the one of the either the crippled one was a Shaita and the Suma was a Russia, all right, or there was a third son that was a Shota and a Russia. But either way, it's all bad stuff. And just because the father didn't discipline his kid. All right. Next one's pretty long, but he's just going through a lot of examples about small things like not disciplining your kid. And then within 3 years, 15 people died from that household just because he won't discipline his kid of how to properly conduct himself when the tzibur is saying hello. And we're going to have more examples of that, but we will save it for, for our next session, Be'ezras Hashem.